We have helped over 3,500 families move over the last 2 decades. And we've seen everything. We've seen, really great, smooth closings. We've seen things that are chaotic. We've seen messes and dirtiness. But sometimes the hardest moves happen when you've actually moved everything into the truck and your possessions are not in your hands anymore.
Our quote that we had been estimated increased more than $20,000.
$20,000. They're now demanding 11 times the original quote.
So today I am talking to Jordan from AMJ, which is a large nationwide moving company. And we're gonna pull back the curtain. We're gonna look at 5 major scams that happen so you can protect your family. We also have a free guide for you where 17 of the biggest red flags, we're only gonna cover 5 today, but we have the guide that talks about 17 of the biggest red flags that you need to watch for to protect you and your family when you're making your move. That was weird. Jordan.
Jared.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Let's hear about this first big red flag.
Yeah, one of the biggest red flags that we see, Jared, is lowball estimates. Again, it's that old adage, if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Okay.
Because what a lot of organizations will do is they'll underestimate the quote, get all your goods into storage, and then add additional surcharges that you weren't initially suspecting.
So basically give you that quote, and then out of nowhere, it pops up.
The jacket right up, you bet.
Okay.
So it's really important. First of all, we'd recommend you get multiple quotes. The reality of our business is that there's different ways that quotes can get put together and different estimating tactics that organizations can use. A lot of companies now are using AI to help increase the accuracy of estimates. So I'll look for that. What type of technology is a company using? That will help add some legitimacy to the pricing that they're providing. But ultimately, if they come in and they're half of what you're getting elsewhere, I would think twice about making that decision.
So how can a client who is planning a move protect themselves from increased prices? Because if it comes in at $1,200, all of a sudden it turns into $3,000. like how can someone kind of proactively figure that out?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I wish it's one that more customers would ask their moving partner. Yeah. One way that you can look is first and foremost, read your contract from start to finish. Read the fine print. A lot of what reputable organizations will do is they'll cap how much estimate could increase if our sales representatives misquote. So to give you an example on what that looks like, Jared, we send out an estimator to give you a quote on what we think that job will take. We have an upper threshold determined that we can only bill an extra 10% if the move takes longer. Yeah. Where if there's no threshold provided and that move takes twice as long, that organization could come back and say, hey, Jared, you now owe us twice as much as we initially quoted, and nobody wants to be put in that position.
That's horrible.
It's horrible. You hear these outlandish stories of people getting taken advantage of. And fortunately, we've been able to come in and help, service some of those and rescue some of those shipments. But it's never something you want to find yourself in that predicament. Those are your lifelong possessions. It's your life, it's your family, and you need to protect it.
Okay, so if you thought that first red flag was good, this one's even better because it is all to do with being held hostage. Now, we've seen reports, like you've seen those marketplace videos where they've uncovered people's property or their stuff being held hostage, right? So how can someone proactively see that as a red flag and try to figure that out? Because there's not just the big ones, there's the small ones too that we were talking about.
Yeah, we call them mini hostage situations, if you were, Jared, that aren't shown on the news. Because you do hear those horror stories of a whole trailer load of someone's belongings getting held ransom, saying, we're charging you $5,000 in order to deliver it out. We're going to now bill you $15,000. And the customer has zero options at that point other than pursue legal matters against this organization while their personal belongings are held in limbo. And that's what you hear a lot of on the news. What you don't hear as much of is these mini hostage situations where we come back or organizations come back and say, Jared, you got to give us an extra $750 before we deliver this out. And then again, what option do you have? So an uneducated customer might think that's just par for the course. It is not. That is under no circumstances acceptable unless that something of that nature was discussed prior to the move. So a lot of it comes down to really being prepared. Know your rights, know what you're contractually obligated to, and tying back to the first red flag, if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
I think that's going to be a theme through all of them.
100%.
Flag number 3.
Know your mover, Jared. At the end of the day, the unfortunate reality is that there's a lot of shady companies doing horrible business practices in this industry. And really, you can protect yourself against that by really doing your research and investigating who they are.
So what are some ways you could do research? Like how can a consumer, if they're sitting there and they're going, how do I actually research? Because, I mean, I could go to the Best Business Bureau. That's a fun word. Or you could go to Google. You could what are the ways that you can truly know who you are hiring?
Movers or companies are really good at making websites look really flashy, so you got to be skeptical about that as well.
And now there's AI.
Now there's AI, so they can probably make a website per day if they wanted to. But definitely give the Google reviews a read through. But also, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. You know, if it's all good reviews, you have to be cautious that they're not farming leads out or farming reviews out, I should say. And so, really, just go with your gut. And if something seems off, or if it's too perfect, think twice about who you're getting into business with.
And the other thing with Google reviews, we were talking before that you have heard of companies who basically have like a perfect 4.95 star rating. And the irony of that is, as I'm saying this, I think ours is like 4.8 on Google right now. But the reality is when you're looking at those, click on the people.
Right.
Like, see, are they real people? Where are they from? Is it just kind of, are they all giving like short little sentences? Or are they giving like full on personal experiences? Right?
100%.
Because I think that is where you're going to really tell the big difference, right?
Totally. If they're all templated one-line responses, again, proceed with probably an enhanced level of caution. A lot of customers that we interact with actually like mentioning our crews by names or show photos of the movers, which is a good way to ensure that it's legitimate. And there's a lot of companies doing this as well. But yeah, make sure you trust your gut on that.
It's a red flag for sure.
Red flag.
Okay. Fourth one is upfront deposits that are just way too big. So tell me about that.
Every moving company should request a deposit. It's a way to secure the crew and the resources and ensure there's some commitment from the customer side to book the services that day.
So expect that if you're booking.
Definitely. Okay. Expect a deposit. Be cautious if that deposit is a disproportional percentage of your total move cost.
Okay.
Because they could just take that deposit, pack up your goods, and the next, you don't know where it's going, what they're going to do with it, and you're out of pocket, 50 to 75% of the total move value.
Wow. So local move, rough numbers, anywhere from like $2,000 to $6,000.
Yeah, that's fair. Yep.
So then if someone's looking for a local move deposit, how much should they expect?
I would say any more than $500, you should be asking some questions on. Typically, that's what we need to make sure that our bases are covered, and it's a reasonable percentage of the total move costs, and it will fluctuate throughout the year as well. Meaning a deposit amount might increase in the summer and then level off in our slower months into December through February.
Just because of demand.
Just because of demand.
Okay, that makes sense. So if it's too big, how can somebody question them without, well, it's a red flag. So like what should someone do? If someone's like, this is a $2,000 or $2,500 quote, and I need you to give me $1,800 e-transfer by tomorrow.
I would just understand it.
Just say no?
Say no. Call other companies as well. We always encourage our customers to get multiple different estimates and quotes. Companies quote using different methods. And I think that's a way that organizations can hide or tuck costs away that they might not be very forthright in mentioning to the customer. So if you have some comparisons and you see the company that's the cheapest asking for the highest deposit, that's a red flag, Jared, that you should keep an eye out for.
Okay, Jordan, flag number 5. What is flag number 5?
Any moving company that asks you to sign a blank or incomplete contract, Jared, huge red flag.
Okay.
A contract is only good if it's thorough, if it's well researched, and both parties can agree to it. And that ties back. Filled in. Yeah. If they say, here it is, and we'll figure out the details later, hard stop. That would be a huge red flag if I was trying to pick a moving company.
Especially once you've gone through all of these other red flags.
Yep.
you've got to the point where now they're giving you this and everything was seeming okay. But then all of a sudden you get this contract and something's left out. I mean, at that point, is it worth really like trying to find someone else? Or is it just like, screw it. Okay, we'll figure it out. I trust them.
For how important moving your personal effects are, I would say that's never okay. That's never a risk a customer should assume. And that all ties back to the estimating process as well. So if they're coming to you and they've taken the time out of their day to come do an in-home survey or a virtual survey, then you have a lot more confidence in what they're providing. If they just over the phone say, hey, Jared, we're going to move you, it's going to be about $5K, not good enough. That's a big red flag.
How do you even know?
You don't.
You don't know. You don't know. So if you found this helpful, please jump in the description, grab the free guide that we have for you, and we'll see you up in this video.